Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast presented by the Six Pack Coverage Media Network. It's your host, Jeff Rowell, here with my co-host, Andrew Tanzi, coming at you to break down everything you need to know for Week 13 in the NFL season. We are coming off one of the more brutal weeks that I can remember in my fine betting history. It felt like every single game that came down to the wire just went against us, and it was so painful. Rue, have you recovered from last week yet?
No, I'm not gonna lie. Like usually I'm just able to like put this stuff on the back burner, but it was just the things that happened. Like we were in a position, so like we were on the Bucks, the Falcons, and the Ravens, all like under 2 minutes in prime position to cover these
Yes.
games, and we somehow ended up on the wrong side of every single one of them. Then Seattle comes out, lays an egg. The Chargers go for two, so their spread's dead and the team total's dead. It was just we are just on the wrong side of all these games at the end. So, yeah, I'm ready to turn a corner, but it's definitely been bugging me all week.
Yeah, I was considering just skipping the whole recap this week and just moving
Yeah.
forward because it's going to be painful, but we'll do it anyway. We did not have a debate of the week last week. We will have one this week. Favorite bets of the week. The first time we ever had the same favorite bet. We both had the Bucks -3. You dropped to 6-5 on the year. I dropped to 5-6. I mean, they just had so many chances. It felt like it was 17-10. The Bucks defense would get a stop and they would get the ball back with a chance to like put the game away or worst case get a field goal. So like you're pushing like 5 different times in the fourth quarter, and every single time they wouldn't be able to put points up. And then of course Njoku with the freaking one-handed catch
Oh
on the
my
final
God.
drive. And then they're done. They're not even going to try and go down and kick a field goal before over. I mean, just like the events that had to transpire for us to at least not even get a push on this was insane.
And even for them to like the Browns to get in scoring position on that last drive, like you said, the Bucks defense was doing. They I think the Browns drove down the field their first or second drive of the game, but other than that,
Yeah, they were
like
amazing.
they were great. And then so they get the ball back. You're like, there's no way Brissett's leading them down the field. And sure enough, they're at the 10-yard line. And then and Njoku just says, "Screw your -3 bets," and yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, it's not fun. Long shots of the week, equally not fun. You dropped to 4-8 with a loss. TJ Hawkins in 5 receptions. I think he got that. Yeah, he got that. And
Yeah,
then
he got
Diggs,
that. Yeah.
Diggs 100 receiving yards. What the heck is up with Steph Diggs? Two incredible matchups back to back, and he comes up short in both of them. Can't even hit his regular total, let alone 100 yards. That was painful on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, he just like started out the last two games non-existent, and then they give him a few targets. He had the big 36-yard catch at the end of the
He had
game.
like
That
60% of his yards on the final play of the game, but the
crazy.
second to last play of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I took an equally painful loss in mine. Dropped to 3-6 on the year. Pat Fryer moves 50 receiving yards in the Steelers money line. Unfortunately, this was the only bet that I had on the Steelers money line. I loved the Steelers last week. I had them +3, but I was like, as the game's going on, I'm like, I have so much on the Steelers here. This is going to be great. And then I learned to realize that all of my Steelers exposure was tied to Pat Fryer move. And of course, he didn't get to 50 yards because they barely even needed to throw the ball in the second half. So that one sucked too.
Yeah.
Prop sheet running out of words to explain what's going on here. We did have a good start on Thursday. I had us at 3-1 there. We had Diggs, lost that, but Amon-Ra, Dalton Schultz, and TJ Hawkinson hit. So overall, we were 5-7 on the week. But like Sunday, I think we went like 1-6. Mark Andrews dropped 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker's like halfway there and then runs backwards for 20 yards on a play. And we're like, well, there goes that one. Gerald Everett was invisible against the Cardinals. I mean, I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my prop looks later in the week when the props come out. I'm gonna try and be a little more selective, and I don't know.
Felt like we were more selective.
Yeah, we were. I guess you're
I
right.
don't
We had
know.
less, but yeah. I
don't
don't
know what to
know.
say.
Last week I said I don't want to panic, but I'm gonna reevaluate a little bit this week. So
I feel like I did reevaluate last week and it didn't produce results. Maybe we just need to wait more time. Maybe they'll come. All right, let's do heroes and zeros of the week before we turn the page to week 13. Do you have a hero from last week? Because it was hard to find one for me personally.
Yeah, mine is prime time Kirk Cousins rounding off my
Wow, look at
Thanksgiving
that.
Day. 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. Who said this guy doesn't like prime time? Yeah, I mean, maybe they got a little lucky to win the game. I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, Kirk Cousins stat sheet looked great. He looked pretty good. So Kirk Cousins, my hero of the week, cashing my Vikings, what was a -3 ticket.
Yeah. I Struggled to find one, but I went with Mike White. I came on this podcast last week and said I thought the Jets offense was a little bit undervalued. Thought they were going to put up
All
points.
right. Okay. To be fair, at the time, it was still Zach Wilson at quarterback. So you
What?
weren't.
No, it
when
wasn't.
We didn't know Mike White was starting when we recorded last
We knew
week.
it wasn't going to be Zach Wilson. They said it was likely not going to be him. We weren't sure if it was going to be Flacco or Mike White, but we knew it wasn't going to be Zach Wilson.
I don't think we knew at the time. We'll have to check that.
Okay.
I don't want to give
As
you,
I predicted on this
credit.
podcast last week, Mike White would come out and dominate the Bears defense just like he did. He got all the receivers involved. Garrett Wilson was awesome. Elijah Moore made an appearance. Imagine that. Jets win 31-10. One of the only games that went well. We had the under in that. We had the Jets spread. We had Jets money line. That was a big win for us.
I didn't have any of the Jets spread. I just took all Bears team total unders, which ended up working.
We also had all of them, which got really, really dicey at the end of the game.
And the game, we got the game total at 45.5. Yeah, that was the one thing that went our way. You're right.
Thank goodness. 0 of the week. Plenty to choose from.
Yeah, I got to go with the Ravens, man. Blowing another 2-score fourth quarter lead. I don't even know where to begin with who to blame. I just got to take the team as a whole. They go down, the Jaguars go down the field and score. Gus Edwards fumbles on the very next play to give it back to them. And the Ravens go down and score with Deshaun Jackson. They end up getting to take the lead, and then they end up getting the Jags in a 3rd and 21, somehow letting the Jags convert in the next 2 plays, and then let them go down the field and score the game-winning touchdown 2-point conversion. Which on that touchdown was extremely debatable whether he was in bounds or not. But
which one?
Marvin Jones, the game winner.
I thought he was in.
I don't know. Neither here nor there. The Ravens blow another 2-score fourth quarter lead and just put a dagger in my heart.
Yeah. In other news, I kind of want to bet the Ravens again this week. We'll talk about that later.
I'm not laying the points.
Maybe I'll convince you. We'll talk about it. My 0 of the week. I went with Tom Brady here. Very unfortunate. Love me some Tom Brady, but man, this guy just at some point, I get that Todd Bowles is an absolute moron. The guy can't manage the game to save his life, has no idea what he's doing. But at some point, some of this has to fall on Tom Brady's shoulders. Some of the play calling I thought was ridiculous. The clock management at the end of the game, they get the ball back with 32 seconds left and all 3 timeouts, and they're basically just running out the clock at the end of the game. And Todd Bowles comes out in his press conference and says he didn't want to turn the ball over, have Tom Brady throw an interception. You're Tom freaking Brady. How about you go out there and say, I don't care what the play call is. I'm going to call whatever I want. We're going down the field. We're calling our timeouts, and we're going to get in field goal range. Instead, he just throws his hands up and says, oh, yeah, coach didn't want to go for it here, whatever. You drive 35 yards in 32 seconds with 3 timeouts. You're Tom Brady. What the heck, man?
And as bad as he's been, he hasn't been turning the ball over. He only has, I think he only has 4 interceptions on the season, right?
Yeah. And they're worried about throwing a pick against the Browns. It was the most insane comment I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even that bad on the field. It was more just the management of the game. He just I can't.
Well, the offense is just out of sync. I mean, him and Mike Evans can't get on the same page with these.
I mean, Mike Evans isn't even trying half these throws. I mean,
crazy.
I get that Brady can't throw a deep ball, but the ones that are actually there, Evans has already stopped running. I mean,
yeah.
The whole offense, it's crazy. Teams on bye this week. We have the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, and we will kick it off on Thursday Night Football with an AFC East divisional battle. A debate of the week for us, the Buffalo Bills taking on the New England Patriots. Patriots are 4-point dogs. There's actually been some 3.5s come on the board, so a lot of interest in the Patriots this week. Over under is 43.5. Typical Foxborough weather, nothing crazy, 34 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds. Injury report, pretty big for both teams. Von Miller is going to be the big one that's out for the Buffalo Bills. There is a flu outbreak that's kind of been going through the locker room. It looked like from the practice reports that I saw, pretty much everyone was back and good to go. So who knows how much of an impact it'll have, but it sounds like pretty much everyone's going to be in. And then they are expected to get Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau, and Kaiir Elam all back in the lineup this week for the Patriots. Damian Harris out, and then they have Jalen Mills, Jacoby Myers, Jabril Peppers, and 2 offensive linemen questionable. No idea if any of them are going to play or not. I assume most of them will, especially Myers. He did come back last week. You're going to be on the Patriots here, a team that you have faded a couple times recently. Make the case on Patriots +4.
Yeah, look, I came on here last week, made a strong case against the Patriots when I was taking the Vikings. And as much as I want to kind of victory lap that, the Patriots probably should have won that game.
They played really well. Yes, they could have.
They just couldn't overcome the Vikings horseshoe, which teams just continue to fall to week after week. And there was a kick return touchdown. They had the roughing the punter to extend the drive.
A
There was
Hunter
another
Henry
the
touchdown. That
Hunter
was
Henry
such an obvious
touchdown.
touchdown.
So very uncharacteristic of Patriots teams, where special teams played such a huge role in it against the Patriots. And yeah, obviously the Hunter Henry one was just a disaster. But the Patriots averaged 7.4 yards per play to the Vikings only 5.4. But obviously the issues I mentioned, the Patriots were 0 for 3 in the red zone, 3 for 10 on third down, which was a big discrepancy. But I thought they played great. Like, I needed to see something from them there. Like, okay, they lost the game, but Mac Jones looked really good. And the defense, I thought, held their own against a pretty good offense. The Bills, for me, I mean, they're tough to trust right now. Like, Josh Allen, over his last 4 games, 4 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions. 2 of those games, he completed less than 60% of his passes. He has thrown, numerous. What was it? Those first 4 years or 5 years in the league, it was like no red zone interceptions. And then this year he has 3 or 4 of them already. The defense, I know it's been banged up, but they haven't been great lately. Like, the Lions had no problem moving the ball up and down the field last week. Now you lose, you're getting guys back, but losing Von Miller is huge. I mean, he's just been a difference maker all season for that defense. And then you add this, the flu issue here. I'm not saying it's going to play a massive impact in the game, but it's something here. It was only a couple days ago, so you don't know if other people are going to pop up with this, or there's going to be a few effects leading into a Thursday night game here. So I just haven't been impressed with the Bills at all lately. Now, I'm not going to come on here and say I've been impressed with the Patriots after the case I made against them last week, but getting 4 points at home here in a game, I think is going to be a little close. Now, I can see the Patriots winning this game outright. I think it's a good spot for them.
I think the number is too short here. I thought the opener, Bills -5.5. I thought that was a pretty fair spread. Now that it's dipped down to 4, some 3.5s on the board, I think this is getting into kind of crazy land here. The Bills have to be the play for me. Their defense, I get they're losing Von Miller. That's obviously a big loss in the pass rush department, but they're going to be the healthiest they've been in a number of weeks here. I mentioned the 4 starters that they're expected to get in this game off of IR, and this is a team that's already top 3 in defense without these guys for a lot of the year. The Patriots offense had a flash of life last week, finally, after 5 weeks of being horrendous. I think that was more a factor of the Vikings just being that bad on defense, playing in a dome. I think those factors contributed more to the success there rather than the Patriots actually being a good offense. I think they're going to revert back to kind of what they were against the Jets and some of these other teams recently where they struggle to move the ball. They can't convert touchdowns in the red zone. It's a lot of field goals. And I just don't think you can stop Buffalo from scoring here. I love their team total over 23.5. I'll get into that later. But I just think Buffalo's going to be scoring in the upper 20s. I don't think the Patriots can hang. Josh Allen has had a ton of success outside of that one crazy weather game in Foxborough last year. The other 2 meetings, a 33-21 win over the Patriots, where he went 320 for 4 and 0 interceptions, and then a 47-17 win in the playoffs, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Josh Allen's kind of had the Patriots and Bill Belichick's number over the least last year or two. I just think the Bills score too many points here. The Patriots offense is going to revert back to what we've seen when they face a top-notch defense.
I don't know, like, the Bills haven't been covering spreads. Like, they win by 3 against Detroit last week, 8 against Cleveland. I think that closed at 8, so a push.
But they're also not laying over a touchdown like they had. Like the last 2 weeks, they were -8.5, -10.
Yeah, but they're still only winning by. They're winning by. Yeah, but they won 3. They lost by 3 to the Vikings. They closed 6.5-point favorites. They lose by 3 to the Jets. They don't cover the Packers spread. Like, they haven't been this dominant team that we saw early in the season.
Though I don't like the Lions putting up points against them. Like, I thought that made a ton of sense.
The Packers have an offense. Like, I mean,
they were dominated. That game was fine.
I'm just saying they didn't cover the spread. It's I don't know, man. I don't like what I've seen from the Bills. I don't think they're this dominant team that they're getting credit for in the market.
But I don't think they're getting that credit anymore. If they were rated as -6.5 here, like they are a dominant team, then yeah, I'm with you. But I think this is the point where the market's kind of turned on them. This isn't that much respect for the Bills.
Josh Allen has not looked good. And he's the engine that I know they're putting up points and stuff still, but his numbers don't look great. He's making mistakes, and the Patriots are a team I think can make them pay for those turnovers.
Yeah, if the Patriots win the turnover battle 3-1 or something like that, that could definitely have a real chance for them to win the game. But I think Josh Allen will get it together.
All right, we'll see.
Prop looks for you in this one. This is the only game where we have official lines posted right now.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I like Josh Allen in this game. I took his over rush yards at 41.5. He has 60 plus rush yards in the last 2 games against the Patriots, 10 for 78 versus the Lions last week, only 3 for 7 in that game against the Browns coming off the elbow injury. But prior to that, he was 84, 86, 49. So he's been pretty clear of this line in, most of his last 4 or 5 games. Then I also don't mind his pass plus rushing yards if you're just going to take the total. I think Barstool and Bet Rivers had a 309 number there, which seems pretty low for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, is this elbow injury could be something? I mean, he's definitely missing some throws you've seen him make earlier in the year. Feel like it's definitely.
I mean, you have to think each week maybe it gets a little bit better. You would hope. I mean, I don't know.
You would think. I mean, yeah,
maybe it gets worse from playing. I don't know. I mean,
it could. Yeah,
it's not to the point where like you watch him and he's like, oh my God, he's not the same quarterback. No. But yeah, maybe there's a throw here or there that he used to be able to make that now he just doesn't have the same velocity on or something. Who knows? It's possible.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to the Sunday slate here. First game on tap is going to be the New York Jets against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are laying 3 points at home. The over-under is 44.5. Michael Carter going to miss the game for the Jets, likely with an ankle sprain. Screw you, Michael Carter. Thanks for nothing, buddy. Vikings are going to be down 2 starting cornerbacks with Cam Dantzler on IR. Andrew Booth also placed on IR this week. And then offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw still questionable with a concussion. This spread doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The Jets...
None whatsoever.
We just talked about the Patriots a ton in that last game. The Jets just played the Patriots twice in the last 4 weeks. The final meeting, they closed plus 3.5 at home to the Patriots. So the market basically told you the Patriots are 5 points better than the Jets on a neutral field. The Patriots go into Minnesota last week, closed plus 2.5. Now the Jets are only going to be plus 3. Like, I get went from Zach Wilson to Mike White, but the Vikings are also have a rest advantage. They're at home. You're going to tell me that Mike White's worth 5 points to the spread here? Like, this number just looks way short. However,
let me add to that. Let me add to the spread since you're comparing numbers here. So next week on the look ahead line.
Oh, we already have lines? What do we got?
The Bills are home against the Jets as 9.5 point favorites.
How? What?
So the Vikings are home here. So okay, the Vikings beat the Bills. You could still make a case the Bills are better than the Vikings, fine. But 6.5 points? No. When
the Bills are playing the Patriots this week, how are they going to be 3.5 on the road and then 9.5? Something doesn't add up.
It doesn't. So
okay. So we need the Vikings whisperer to tell us what to do here because I don't know what to do with this game. For some reason, I still haven't bet the Vikings. Tell us what to do.
Yeah, this is spot number 1 of the week that we're just going to say pump the brakes. Mike White just tore up the worst defense in NFL history. I mean, like, the Bears are an absolute shell of a bad defense. So their defense sucked.
And now they lost their best player in the first
They just lost Eddie Jackson, who was their best remaining player after getting rid of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. Last year, look, we had the fun game with Mike White against the Bengals. He threw for 400 yards, pulled the upset, followed it up with a 40-point loss and a 2-turnover performance. So, like, let's, again, pump the brakes. And if you watch that game, there was a lot of tight windows that he was thrown into and a lot of chances for turnovers against that Bears defense. And look, I'm not saying the Vikings defense is great or even good for that matter, but it's still a
They're not. They're bad.
It's a massive step
That's
up.
That's my concern. What if the Vikings defense are just so bad that Mike White looks good again? No, I mean, they're better than the Bears, but how much the Patriots just went up and down the field on the ball game?
No, I just think you need to sell. I mean, this, like, we're talking about how this line is just off. I mean, you're getting a flat 3. There was 2.5. So, like, you're getting at least 2 or 3 points of value on this side. Earlier in the week, it was a 2.5. And now, Michael Carter's hurt for what it's worth. I don't think he's not great, but now you're going to rely on a run game with Zonovan Smith. I mean, what are we doing here? So I just think this is a complete sell spot on the Jets. And at some point we have to start handicapping this Vikings horseshoe, like throw the numbers, just throw it out, like bank on like Garrett Wilson running into the end zone, getting struck by lightning before he gets in, or Mike White tripping over a sprinkler head, like in the Buffalo Wild Wing commercials or something. I mean, like, if there's a way to win, the Vikings are going to find it at this point. So, but yeah, really just a sell spot on Mike White for. I just think this line is just way off.
So you laid 3, or would you look at? I mean, there's some money lines that are in like the minus 140s range right now. Like, you don't even mess around with the points because we know the Vikings are going to play a close game. Like, I don't think they're going to blow them out here. Like,
Yeah, I laid the 3. I'm gonna come back on it later in the week. I wanted to take the 3 because I wasn't sure if this was gonna go to 3.5, so I just grabbed it. But yeah, I'm gonna wait it out. I'll definitely, if we can get like a -140 money line or better, I'll definitely come back on that. If not, I'll lay another 3 or 2.5, whatever's out there by Sunday.
Yeah, I think I'm going to wait on this one, and I will likely end up joining you. It looks like there's some books like Circa, I think, has Vikings -3 plus 105. So there's a decent chance that we could get a 2.5 here soon. So if that happens, I think I will have no choice but to join you on the Vikings. Prop looks for you in this one. Obviously, we're going to be watching the matchup of Justin Jefferson versus Sauce Gardner. That should be a fun one. Any prop looks for you in this game?
No, I got nothing right now.
2, I'm going to be looking at TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. If we get that line again, I feel like we just have to keep taking it. He's hit this every week since he's been a member of the Vikings. I believe he's on pace for like 109 catches since joining the team. Like, just insane volume, continues to get targets. Then Garrett Wilson, I'll see where he's lined at. Seemed to have pretty good chemistry with Mike White, 5 for 95 and 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. We know the Vikings defense can't stop anyone. Devontae Parker had one of his best games of the season last year against the secondary as the Patriots wide receiver 1. So 2 spots I'll be looking in the passing game.
Okay.
Moving right along here to the Denver Broncos taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are -8-point home favorites. The over-under is 38.5. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, both likely missing for the Broncos. For the Ravens, Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, all questionable. What do you have here? Play on this one side or total Broncos versus Ravens?
Yeah, so I bet the under 40.5 at the opener. What's it at now? 38.5.
I still think it's a little high, honestly.
I was just going to say, is it 38.5? Is that what it's at right now?
Yes, it's 38.5.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem taking the under on that. This Broncos team is just an utter disaster. I mean, it was almost comforting to see a defensive player get in Russ's face last week. But at the same time, but especially in a low total like this, I can't lay over a touchdown here. I tease the Ravens. I think they're a great teaser leg.
Best teaser leg on the board.
This is a game that I don't even think the Ravens could blow. If the Ravens go up 2 scores, the Broncos are incapable of coming back, and I can say that with confidence. So yeah, this is just Ravens and teasers, and I would play this under down to. I'd probably go down to 37.5.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. I'm going to lay 8 points with the Ravens here. I haven't done it yet. I have them in a ton of teasers. Look, I realize that we hate laying points with the Ravens. From the first point here, the spread is just absolutely wrong. The Ravens played the Carolina Panthers 2 weeks ago at home. They closed -13, played poorly, won the game by 10 points, whatever. Last week, the Panthers and the Broncos play. The game closes a pick in Carolina. So the market basically told you these 2 teams are pretty much equal. The Panthers dominate them on the field and win easy. Now we're going to get Broncos versus Ravens in Baltimore, and we're going to go down from 13 to 8.5. I don't understand how this spread is not double digits. And like you just said, this is almost like a foolproof plan for the Ravens because they can't blow a lead against the Broncos because the Broncos can't score. It's impossible to blow a lead against a team that can't score. So I just think that this is like...
but the Broncos, this game could realistically end 10-7.
I think the Ravens are better than that. Like, just go back and look at some of these games recently. They went 1 for 4 in the red zone against the Panthers. They go 2 for 5 last week against the Jaguars. Mark Andrews drops 2 touchdowns. Another receiver, I think it was Duvernay. I forget. Someone in the back of the end zone dropped another one where Lamar threw it on the run. The last 3 seasons.
Yeah, but that's against the Jags. Like this is a good
but that's
defense.
what I'm saying. I think it's just a fluke performance. Like if they had caught those touchdowns, they put up 40 points against the Jags. They win. They cover the spread. We're feeling so much better about them. The Ravens offense has been top 10 in the red zone each of the last 3 seasons. Even with Lamar missing half the year last year, they still ranked number 8 overall in DVOA in the red zone. Mark Andrews is going to get his head out of his freaking butt this week and catch some touchdowns. And I just think this Broncos team has more quit potential than any team in the league. We're already seeing the defense kind of like getting pissed off that they're putting up these performances and Russ can't do anything. I think this is a game where if you see the Ravens go up 14-0, this one's just going to be absolute cakewalk to the finish. They win like 24-0, 24-3, something like that. This is the game that I'm comfortable laying 8 points with, even with the total this low.
I'd consider maybe like a first half spread, or I don't know. I guess not. I guess even if I laid a first half spread, like I said, if they get the lead, they're not blowing it. So
that's what I'm saying. Like how is the back door open?
I can't do it. I'm just gonna use them in a bunch of teasers because I don't think there's any way they lose the game. But
I do think this is the best teaser leg on the entire board, and there's a ton of options to pair them with this.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna be betting them on the spread too. I can't pass.
All right, good luck.
Prop looks for you in this one.
Well, absolutely nothing on the Broncos side. I'm like, I don't know. I'm teetering back and forth on if I want to give Mark Andrews another shot. Like you said, he dropped the 2 touchdown passes, which is uncharacteristic. But who was the tight end they kept throwing to? I
Ed
can't remember.
Oliver. They basically just said,
No,
"Screw
not
you,
Ed
Mark
Oliver. Josh Oliver, I think. Whatever his
Something
name
Oliver."
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing? He just became the tight end one in this game. So
Every
I don't
time they would
know.
throw a pass, I'm like, "Oh my god, there's Mark Andrews." No, it's Ed Oliver again catching.
Yeah, I don't know. I might get there. And then, I took Lamar rush yards last week at 50 and a half. It was a great buy, low spot. He rushed for,
Did
I
he
think.
hit?
Oh, yeah, he crushed it.
Okay.
So, I mean, if we're in the 50s again, I think the Lamar in the 50s might just start being an auto play for me.
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe some field goal kicker props. Teams love to kick field goals. That's about all I got. All right, let's move right along here to the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are 1.5-point home dogs here. The over-under is 42.5. Najee Harris questionable for the Steelers. It does sound like Jaylen Warren was cleared to return. So, I think worst case Warren's a pretty serviceable backup. Better than Benny Snell. And then for the Falcons, Kyle Pitts still going to be out along with Casey Hayward on IR. So no major injuries for either of these teams. What do you have here, Steelers versus Falcons?
I took the Steelers. I think, the Falcons were in prime position to cover that game last week, but I feel like they somewhat lost their luster. They were ranked top 10 in offense for much of the season. They've dropped to 13th overall, and over the last 4 games, only 18th, scoring more than 17 points only once, and that was against the Bears defense. And I don't want to say the Steelers offense has looked good. Like they scored 30, they scored 24 the last 2 games, but really doesn't pass the eye test. But it's a defense that I trust with TJ Watt in there. They're actually top 10 against the rush last year. And this Falcons defense is just much worse than what the Steelers have faced. And what you love about the Falcons is they don't get pressure on the quarterback. And that's just great for Kenny Pickett and any rookie quarterback for that matter. So I don't know. I've seen some encouraging signs from the Steelers offense. I think the play calling is absolutely atrocious. But from a talent standpoint, from Kenny Pickett possibly having a clean pocket here, I like the matchup. I like the matchup for the Steelers defense. So at basically a pick 'em here, I'm going to roll with the Steelers.
Yeah, totally agree. You made pretty much all the points there. I'm in agreement. I also like the Steelers team total over 20 and a half. 20 and a half. I think that's pretty low against this
I was
Falcons
thinking about the game under. So
really, I was thinking about the game over.
Really?
See, I like this matchup for the Steelers offense. Like I like this step down in class that we've kind of talked about a few times the last few weeks for the Steelers coming off the bye. 24 points against the Colts last week, 30 against the Bengals, 20 versus the Saints. All those defenses are better than this Falcons defense. They're playing in a dome. Like you said, I think it's a really good spot for Pickett against a defensive line that can't get pressure. Pickett's been a little bit better the last few weeks, at least in terms of like EPA. He ranked 18th, 9th, and 17th the last 3 weeks, whereas he was pretty much a bottom 10 quarterback for the most of his starts before the bye week. So I just think this is a pretty decent buy low spot in the Steelers offense. I think they should be getting to 23 or 24 points here without too much difficulty.
All right. I'd rather just take the spread. I think if they get to like that mark, they cover. I don't think the Falcons.
Yeah, I took both. Yeah, I don't think the Falcons are winning like 27-24 or something. Yeah. That seems very unlikely.
Yeah.
All right. Prop looks for you in this one.
I might go back to your boy Pat Freiermuth because I assume his line's going to be in the same.
I don't know if I could do it. It was so painful.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of teetering back and forth on a lot of props this week. Just small leans at this point, but nothing on the Falcons side.
Agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move along to a game that should be pretty fun here. The Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Detroit Lions. This game has been flipping favorites all week, so we'll just call it a straight pick 'em. Over-under is 51.5. Travis Etienne sounds like he should be good to go for the Jags. And then Jeff Okudah, Jameson Williams, both questionable for the Lions. Doesn't sound like Jameson Williams is going to make his debut this week. Obviously, first-round pick out of Bama, but maybe next week. Charles Harris is going to miss the game for the Lions defensive end. What do you have here, Jags versus Lions?
Yeah, the game was originally a pass for me, but I kind of take a step back and look at them like the Jags just can't be favorites of any kind in this matchup, even like a -1. So I took the Lions at like +110 on the money line. I know there's not a massive home field advantage for Detroit, but they're averaging more than 30 points per game at home.
I would argue there is. Jared Goff is amazing at home and terrible on the road. I mean,
and they're going against a Jags secondary that has just been brutal for most of the season. And, they got I want to say like a week off last week because of the Ravens' lack of weapons. I mean, they still ended up surrendering the big bomb to Deshaun Jackson. And I just like you look at those games last week. If you take out the last drive of both of those games, what are we looking at here? The Lions is 2.5-point favorites. Like the Lions
Could even
had the
be
lead.
three.
Yeah, the Lions had the lead, but then Josh Allen had the big pass to Diggs to get into field goal range. And then the Jags, like we already talked about that, the Ravens basically handed them that game. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're just ignoring the rest of that game for the Jags and what we've seen since what, September?
We're doing the
How
whole
bad?
season, apparently.
That's what I'm saying. I'm hearing all this Trevor Lawrence love. And I mean,
From
like,
what
I'm
game?
not.
Trevor Lawrence is all of a sudden going to the Hall of Fame now.
One drive. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just think it's a little bit of an overreaction. So if I'm getting plus money on the Lions money line here for a team that offensively has played great at home, I don't think the defense. Look, it's terrible defense, but I think they've been a little bit better after their bye week.
The Lions have been better.
Yeah, a little bit better, serviceable to where if the Lions score, they hit their average at home for the season around 30 points, I'd feel pretty good about them winning this game.
Yeah, I think,
it's a good letdown spot for the Jags after that win against Baltimore.
Time.
I mean, yeah, so.
Yeah, I think the spot lines up perfectly for the Lions at home. 3 extra days to prepare. You nailed this as the pump the brakes game of the week. I guess this is number 2 now since we already had that with the Jets. But I mean, like you said, that this is a Jaguars team that lost outright to the Texans. They lost to the Broncos. They barely come back and beat the Raiders. And all of a sudden, we're just throwing that all out the window because they had one good game against the Jaguars. The Lions have been playing really, really good football. Come off a heartbreaking loss to the Bills. Before that, they beat the Giants outright. They beat the Bears. They beat the Packers. They were at home where Goff thrives. I think the Lions are going to win this game. I feel incredibly confident about it. I think the Lions were plus 1.5 on some books. If you can get them at a teaser, no problem with that at all. Neither of these teams has the ability to win by more than a touchdown in any scenario. Even the Jags at a teaser, I don't mind that. But I think the Lions are going to win this game. I bet them as well.
Nice.
Props for you in this one.
Yeah, you can't set a line for Amon-Ra's receptions at this point. Like you're either getting 7.5 at like minus 120 or minus 130, where they're putting the books are putting 8.5 at plus money, and I would take that too. Or no, sorry, 6.5 or 7.5 at plus money, and I would take either one. He's just an absolute target monster and Goff's go-to guy, and I think he should have a monster day against this Jag secondary.
Yep, totally agree. Uncoverable right now. 9 for 122 and 1 versus the Bills last week. Come on.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, let's go to a very interesting game against 2 of the better teams in the NFL. The Tennessee Titans taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are 5.5-point home favorites. The over-under is 44.5. Cornerback Caleb Farley out for the Titans. Defensive tackle D'Amico Autry questionable. And then for the Eagles, they lost safety CJ Gardner-Johnson last week to it was some weird injury. It was like a punctured lung.
It was a lacerated
kidney. That's what it was. Yeah, that was a weird one. Obviously a very interesting matchup here, strength on strength, with the Eagles run game going up against the Titans defense that ranks number 1 against stopping the run. What do you have here? Do you have a play on this one, Titans or Eagles?
Man, every fiber in my body is telling me to take the Titans here, but it's just so hard for me to do it when they haven't been able to run the ball for 3 straight games in very, very favorable.
It's been weird.
Match. Very favorable match. I mean, Green Bay, like how bad did that run defense look last week? And I know the Eagles' offensive line's better than the Titans, but
still Derrick Henry.
I mean, I could have rushed for like 80 yards on that defense last week. And yeah, so 3 straight games, Henry is just not look great. And that's just, when you're going against a team as good as the Eagles, you need your best asset to be working. But at the same time, like the Eagles, look, they're awesome. They're a complete team, top 3 team in the league, but they just barely beat a Colts team that, my God, I can't even put into words how bad that team looked on Monday. They lose outright to the Commanders. They don't cover against the Texans. They just let up 33 points to the Packers offense, which is the most points they scored all season. So I don't know. I think you could make an argument on both sides here. It's also very scary betting against Mike Vrabel as over a field goal underdog. So this is a strong lean to the Titans. I think if this got back to 6, I would probably pull the trigger on the Titans.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you here. This may honestly be a little bit of my Eagles fandom getting in the way here. I just kind of don't want to bet against the Eagles. I don't know if it's necessarily from a betting perspective or I just don't want to bet against the Eagles, but I think you're right. The spread's probably a little bit inflated, or not even inflated. It's more just like you said, it's Mike Vrabel in this spot has just been so good over the years. So I think it has to be Titans or pass. But yeah, like you, I haven't made a play on this one, but would lean Titans if you made me bet it.
Okay.
I think it'll be a very interesting test for both teams. I think I'm more just excited to watch this, and I don't know if I'm going to have a bet on it.
Yeah,
Prop
I agree.
prop looks for you in this one?
I don't usually buy into revenge narratives or anything,
Oh
but I think
yeah.
you gotta look at AJ
You
Brown
have
here.
to.
I think they're definitely going to be scheming him up, and even
Sirianni is the
and
kind of
even
coach
yeah,
that does this
yeah,
stuff.
and even beyond that, you said it. The Titans' strength is their run defense. We know the Eagles have
Right.
no problem not giving Miles Sanders the ball. So you attack the weaker secondary of the Titans with AJ Brown here. I think he could have a big game.
Yeah, I think like you said, it makes sense on the field and from a narrative perspective. It's not like we're asking like a backup tight end to score a touchdown or something. This is a guy that if you
Yeah.
bet is over receiving yards without the revenge game factor, it'd probably be a pretty good bet in this matchup anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, moving right along here, we go to the Cleveland Browns against the Houston Texans. The Texans are 7-point home underdogs. The over-under has been bet all the way up to 47.5. The return of Deshaun Watson to the NFL field, to the Houston Texans. Very interesting game here. No real injury notes on either side. Cornerback Derek Stingley questionable for the Texans. The Browns are pretty much healthy. And Njoku missed practice today on Wednesday, but he should be good to go. What do you have here on the Texans or Browns? I believe, did you give out the Browns last week as a look ahead line?
I did. It's 5.5.
5.5 sitting on that CLV. How do you feel about it now? Would you still bet it at 7? Would you tease the Browns or are you passing the game? What do you have?
I'm fine teasing the Browns. I don't think I'd lay over a touchdown just with the unknown with Watson and him not playing for a couple of years. So there's definitely some unknown baked in that. I mean, I liked the 5.5. I feel good about the Browns winning. Now this is one bet I placed, probably the only bet I've ever placed that I hope I lose because I'd love nothing more for Deshaun Watson to lose this game. But yeah, I mean, look, you didn't think this Texans offense could look any worse, and then Kyle Allen stepped on the field and they just looked atrocious until the second half when the Dolphins basically put all the backups in and loosened up and took their foot off the gas here. But look, I want to fade Deshaun Watson, but I've made a pact to myself in this podcast that I will not bet on the Texans the rest of this year. And honestly, you could argue the books still haven't caught up to how bad this Texans team is, but
I honestly thought this was going to get bet up to like 9.5, 10.
The Texans
just not enough.
The Texans are just an absolute corpse right now, and they're just going through the motions trying to get through the season. I know a couple weeks ago you argued that they didn't quit, but I think this team is just absolutely cooked and trying to get the number 1 pick at this point. So
I think the problem is Lovie Smith. If they still had Davey Culley in there, I feel like this team would be playing harder and covering spreads. Lovie Smith is an idiot.
But it doesn't make sense what they're doing. Like they hire David Culley as he was one of the oldest head coaches in the league. It was his first head coaching job, I believe.
Yeah.
For what? It was one season.
Yes, one season.
So you bring him in for
he
one
honestly
season.
didn't do that bad of a job.
That's what I'm saying. Like you bring this guy in for one season to this organization, and you fire him because he didn't win with this roster, and then you bring in Lovie Smith. What are these guys supposed to? I just don't understand what the vision is with the coaching.
No vision.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's more big picture stuff, but yeah, I don't see how the Texans win this game. Even if Watson's struggling, you can just hand the ball to Nick Chubb 20 times and he'll run for
the way that the
yards.
Texans are competitive is if they somehow find a way to get Dameon Pierce going again, because he has been absolutely invisible the last 2 weeks. We know the Browns have a bad run defense. When they had some success, like when they played against the Eagles, I think the Giants game, they had some success on the ground there. If they can get Dameon Pierce going for a big game, that's the only way they stand a chance.
Yeah, but it's like so hard when just the whole offense is bad. Because even to get Pierce going, you got to keep the chains moving. You're gonna have to complete a few
you don't
passes.
respect the pass at all. That's the problem.
Yeah, and you can literally put 9 guys in the box and say, Kyle Allen, go ahead and like beat us, and we'll just sit on Dameon Pierce. So it's just so tough when you're on this bad of an offense with absolutely no threat of the passing game.
Okay, let me talk to you about the total. This total opened at 44.5, 45. I thought it was pretty fair. The Browns are a little bit of an over team, but the Texans offense can't score. You kind of meet in the middle, 44.5. I thought that was fair. This has been blasted up to 47.5. 47 is kind of a key number in totals. I feel like this under is kind of good here. How are the Texans going to score more than what? 13 points, 14 points. Now, so you're asking the Browns to score 35 to hit the over here in Deshaun Watson's first game in 2 years? I mean, I get Nick Chubb's going to have some success on the ground, but this feels 2 to 3 points too high to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. What did the game end? Okay, yeah, so last week the Dolphins scored 30, Texans scored 15. So yeah,
went under.
And that was actually 47.5 too.
The total in the Dolphins Texans cannot be the same as the Browns Texans. That cannot be the same total.
Yeah, it's a good case.
It's too high. I'm betting the under. The under is even you get it. No, never mind. All right, I'm betting the under.
Okay.
Prop looks for you in this one, Nick Chubb.
Yeah, Nick Chubb.
Don't
That's about
overcomplicate it.
Yep.
All right, I'm with you. All right, let's move on to a battle in the NFC East between two very interesting teams, the Washington Football Commanders against the New York Football Giants. Giants are 2.5-point home dogs. The over-under is 40.5. Chase Young expected to make his return to the lineup for like the 5th week in a row. We'll see if it actually happens. Giants pretty banged up. Wan'Dale Robinson and Adoree Jackson both out. 3 members of the offensive line questionable. Daniel Bellinger questionable. Azeez Ojulari was activated off IR, but not sure if he's going to be back here. Are you going to continue to ride the Washington Football Commanders train that just isn't slowing down for anybody? Or is this the time to, as you like to say, pump the brakes and buy low on the New York Giants?
Well, I faded the Commanders last week with the Falcons, and then, they got the tipped pass on the last play of the game, which was just freaking brutal. But this is I love the Giants and teasers here. I actually don't hate the Commanders being small favorites here, just with the injury report for the Giants with the offensive line injuries, the injuries in the secondary. And the Giants, like they've looked off the last few games. Barkley hasn't been able to get going.
Yeah.
And now he faces probably the best run defense he's seen since week
number 4 in the league.
Week 1 against Tennessee. That's probably the only even the comparable defense. So, I could see the Commanders winning here. It's a good matchup, but I'd be pretty shocked if they won this game by more than 8.5 points. So I feel pretty comfortable with the Giants and teasers here.
Yeah, totally agree with you on the Giants and teasers. I grabbed the football's money line on the open just because I found a really good price on it. It was like -110, and I just felt like it was definitely going to go up to like -135, -140. So that was more just a play of getting ahead of the market. I don't necessarily think that they're a much better team. I think they're playing better right now, but the Giants have some extra rest. They're at home field. I think the spread makes perfect sense. Giants and teasers is definitely the play. Would you
if it did get to 3, would you take the Giants?
I feel like you'd probably have to.
Yeah,
even having a football's money line, I feel like I would have to take the Giants at 3. That's just too much.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, low scoring game. We think it's going to be competitive. The footballs are on a nice win streak. They cannot win by margin. It's not like they're winning these games by 2 touchdowns. I know we grabbed the under on the open. I believe you were with me on that one at 41.5. Would you still play it at 40.5 now? Both these offenses are bottom half of the league, bottom 10 in pace of play. Would this be an under spot for you, or is it a little too low?
I could get convinced at 40.5. If it dropped into the 30s, I probably wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I feel like 39.5 is the right number. So maybe there's a shred of value at something over 40 here.
Yeah.
Footballs are 4-5 to the under in the last 5 games. Giants are 3-7 on the year to the under.
Yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one. I do not have anything on either of these teams.
No, too tough offense. Like I said, Barkley hasn't been able to get going, and now he gets a tough run defense. You don't know who's going to go off in the Commanders' backfield. Terry McLaurin's been hit or miss. So, yeah, just pretty much a pass all around.
All right, let's go to our next game here. Up to the AFC North, Green Bay Packers taking on the Chicago Bears. Packers are out to 5.5-point road favorites. The over-under is 43.5. Aaron Rodgers banged up on the Sunday night football game, Sunday night football game. Announced he is going to play this week. Darnell Savage and Devondre Campbell are questionable on the Packers defense. For the Bears, it is an absolute mess. Justin Fields questionable. Trevor Siemian missed practice today with an injury. They signed Tim Boyle off the street to potentially back up Nathan Peterman if Fields can't go and Siemian can't go. It's a mess. And on the defensive side, it's not much better. Their best player on defense, Eddie Jackson, done for the season. Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker in this Bears secondary both missed the game last week, both questionable here. Even a Packers offense that hasn't looked good all year can take advantage of this Bears team. What do you have here on the Packers or Bears? It's kind of hard to really analyze this game. We have no idea what's going on with the Bears, but if you would just like to take a minute to gloat on your Packers -2.5, feel free to do so.
Yeah, so I think it was Thursday or Friday morning. I texted our group chat and said, "Hey, what about the Packers 2.5 here? Fields might not be back, yada yada." Jeff just goes into an absolute rant how it's the dumbest bet in the world and all this crap, and then now here I am sitting with great CLV. So that's just my big.
It's not if Fields plays. You didn't even make. You made a fight. It's gonna close 2.5.
Even if this is Fields versus Jordan Love, I still like getting the Packers under 3 here because, okay, Fields is missing his number 1 target.
Justin Fields' legs on the offense.
Okay, so now they're down what? So they traded Smith, they traded Quinn, they're down Brisker, they're down Eddie Jackson. Who else was what?
Kyler Gordon.
So, okay, so they're down 5 defensive starters.
Yeah, their defense sucks.
No,
I'm aware.
So yeah, and I give me the Packers here. Okay, sorry, not give me the Packers. I can't talk about it now until we know what it is. But I'd be shocked if Fields plays here. What incentive do that Bears have to play?
The only
Fields?
thing that I would say against that is it seemed like there was a legitimate chance he could play last week. I mean, he was questionable all week. They didn't actually rule him out until Sunday morning, Saturday.
Yeah,
night.
And they didn't play him. That's what I mean. So so they're being cautious with him.
But they're being last week. They could play him this week.
No, I don't think you have any incentive to play him. And I think you kind of follow the transactions in some way. They sign.
That could be a Simeon move, though. Yeah, that could just be them saying Simeon's not going to be active. They need a backup. Even if Fields goes, they need a third quarterback.
Well, no, you only activate 2 quarterbacks.
I'm saying maybe it's more of a Simeon. Like they're not sure if Simeon's going to go, so they might need him if Fields can.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't think he plays. I have no idea what to think of Rodgers, but Love was only in there a couple of drives, but he kind of at least instilled some confidence.
Look better than Rodgers.
And like, look, we all love Mike White, but is Mike White that much better than Jordan Love? I think Jordan Love could have some success against this Bears defense, and then I think it could be a big game for Aaron Jones too. So yeah, I mean. Look, at 4.5 right now, if you get news Fields is out, I would probably grab 4.5, even if we don't know about Rodgers' status. So that would be my advice.
I mean, God, if it's Rodgers against Nathan Peterman, what does the spread have to be here? Like 8.5, or like how do you even handicap Nathan Peterman on the Chicago Bears?
But even if it's
no defense,
even if it's Jordan Love versus Nathan Peterman, I think
they already said Rodgers is playing. Why do you keep going back to Jordan?
Wait, they said he's playing.
Yeah, he announced himself that he was playing.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't even hear you say that.
Rodgers is playing.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Okay, sorry. I completely missed that. I don't know why I keep talking about Jordan Love though.
Yeah, forget about Jordan Love. I don't think he's coming unless Rodgers gets hurt again.
All right, wait. So this spread right now is 4.5.
5.5 on FanDuel. There may be a 4.5 out there.
All right, take it. Take it under 6 right now. I would say take it.
Just wait for news. What if?
I think you take it. I think you grab a position on it now and evaluate. I don't think Fields plays, but.
What if he does? Would you want to have 5.5 if Fields plays?
Look, I have 2.5, so I'm happy. So
I'm asking you if you didn't have that. You're recommending this. To
I would take it
if
I was apparently in the know today and I saw that Rodgers announced he was playing, that I would have grabbed it today.
If you were alive and paying attention yesterday and saw it. Yes.
Oh, it was yesterday. God,
pretty
man,
sure
I'm
it was
way behind.
yesterday.
Oof.
Yeah. This is like last week when I had all these Jets positioned and you were like, no, I'm not doing it. You would buy it. And then this is the same thing with you with the Packers this week. And I don't have any position.
So we're reversed. Yeah.
Yes.
How's it feel? Loser.
I hope it works out for you the same way it did for me last week. Lots of money at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll end up joining you. All right. Anything left to say on this one? Props for you.
I'll be looking at Aaron Jones. I'm going to be looking at Aaron Jones.
AJ Dillon's been more involved recently. I don't think I would.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those split backfields we've been trying to avoid with props. So
I feel like this is one where you're going to get caught and it's going to be bumped up because of the matchup so good. It's going to be like 71.5 and people are going to buy into it and AJ Dillon's going to get 12 carries.
Would you look at like a Christian Watson longest reception or something? I mean, how is this Bears secondary?
His catches are stupid. He doesn't even exist. And then all of a sudden he has like a 90-yard touchdown.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I can't count on that happening every week.
All right.
I don't hate it, but I'm not going to bet.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the NFC West here. A lot of divisional matchups going on. We have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the LA Rams. Seahawks are 7.5-point road favorites. The over-under is 41.5. Pretty much every good player you've ever heard of on the Los Angeles Rams not going to play. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Aaron Donald, 3 members of the offensive line, all going to miss this game. It's an absolute disaster. Talked about teasers earlier. I think this is another one where it's one of the best teaser legs on the board. Seahawks disappointed us pretty heavily last week, losing to the Raiders, but I think this offense for the Seahawks is going to be able to put up points. I don't know how John Wolford or Bryce Perkins, whoever the heck starts at quarterback for the Rams, is ever scoring with Cam Akers and Ben Skowronek out there. I mean, I don't know how they're completing a pass. So I think this is all Seahawks on the teaser range. I wouldn't even mind laying 7.5 with them if you needed to. I know we took them on the look aheads last week at 3. Hopefully people did as well. Sitting pretty. What do you have here? Any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, if you're not getting ahead on these lines, I mean, we have great value on so many of these numbers. I think it just goes to show the importance. You're sitting with a -3 here on the Seahawks if you took our advice last week, and now it's up to 7.5. But yeah, I'm with you. Just Seahawks are a great teaser option, and At this point, I feel like, I don't know. You said you lay the 7.5. I don't know. I'm a little. I know the Rams can't run the ball, but the Seahawks defense.
It's a bad defense on the road. You don't love laying
It's starting to look like what I expected it to look like coming into the season. You worry from a season long perspective. I think there's going to be some spots where we can really fade the Seahawks team based on the defense. But this week it's a teaser leg, and that's probably it for me here.
Okay, I agree. Probably no props for me in this one. This is kind of similar to last week. I think we actually talked about this on the Seahawks offense, and then still bet Kenneth Walker rush yards anyway. But I think this is another game where they could kind of get it done through the air. They could get it done on the ground. Walker's been a little bit more inefficient the last few weeks, so pass for me on props.
Yeah, Walker's now in just the boomer bust category. So, I don't think he's touchable. Yeah, pass from the prop standpoint.
All right, let's move along to one of the more interesting games and more fun games on the slate. The Miami Dolphins taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 point favorites, depending on where you're looking. The over-under is 46.5. The mentor, Mike McDaniel, goes up against the master, Kyle Shanahan. Big injury notes here. Teron Armstead, left tackle for the Dolphins, is going to miss this game. Raheem Mostert is questionable. Elijah Mitchell out for the Niners. Eric Armstead and Christian McCaffrey, both on the injury report, as questionable. Sounds like McCaffrey's probably going to be limited in practice this week, but still play. But he's on the injury report. We don't know if he's in there for sure or not. Massive test game for both teams here since the Niners traded for CMC and kind of got healthy on defense. Wins over the Rams, Chargers, Cardinals, Saints. The Dolphins, meanwhile, have 5 straight wins over the Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, and Texans. So big step up in class for both these teams. What do you have in this epic matchup, Dolphins or Niners?
So I definitely think the Niners love is getting a little bit out of hand in the media. They beat the Saints scoring only 13 points. Backup quarterback in Mexico snuck in a win against the injury-laden Chargers. But I do think this defense is definitely legit, and it could be somewhat of a shock to the system for the Dolphins offense, which has really just been coasting. I'm not saying the offense isn't great, but I mean, these defenses – I kind of lost track of what you were saying. I don't know if you just rattled this off, but the offense is to his face since coming back. Steelers without Watt, Detroit, Cleveland, and Houston. So not exactly a murderer's row of defenses, but on the other side of the ball, the Dolphins defense, they've had numerous blow up performances. I think they've somewhat steady, but maybe that goes to some of the offenses they've played. But I'm a little I'm leaning the 49ers, but I'm just a little weary of laying it here. One, because we don't like Kyle Shanahan as a favorite, and two, if I'm even slightly wrong about the handicap or the defense and the Dolphins offense starts out hot, then you're stuck in the dreaded position of needing the Niners to play from behind, which is never a good spot to have your money tied in. So I think fun game, but probably a pass for me.
Yeah, I kind of had similar thoughts. I went back and forth here all week. Like you said, in this Dolphins offense hasn't really faced a defense like this, especially a defensive front like this. So I think it's a big challenge. But the more I think about this game, I just think this is too many points. I grabbed 4.5 with the Dolphins here. I think the spread's just a little bit too high. I think the fact that these coaches know each other so well kind of leads to a more closely contested game. They kind of already know what each one wants to do. I think the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel can kind of scheme up some ways to maybe help out with the loss of Teron Armstead. They can kind of do a similar game plan to what Jimmy G and this Niners offense does. Scheme quick passes to Tyreek and Waddle, let them do their damage after the catch, run Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert if he's in there in the run game. I think they can take a lot of what the Niners do best and kind of use it against them to kind of neutralize this pass rush. And I think Tua can do that. He can get rid of the ball quick, throw it accurate, give it to Tyreek and Waddle, and just let them make plays, kind of like Jimmy G does with Debo and Kittle and CMC and all these guys. So I just think I could see either of these teams winning these games. I think it's going to be a really close back and forth match. We don't like Kyle Shanahan as a big favorite. I think 4.5 here is just too many points with the Dolphins.
All right. A good case.
You got it. You can't. I don't think you can lay more than a field goal with the Niners. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I mean, there might be a lot of people thinking like you though, and if this got to a flat 3, I would pull the trigger on the Niners.
It's been going back every time it gets down to a 3.5, it goes back up to 4.5. Then it goes back it's all over the place. But yes, I think if it ever hit 3, then the Niners love would really come in hard. So if you see a 3 and you want the Niners, I get in quick.
Yeah.
Prop looks for you in this one. I don't think I'm going to have anything. Maybe I'll look at like a Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill reception line if I think they're going to try and get these quick passes, but they'll probably be pretty juiced up. So I'll see where they're at, but probably no plays for me in the prop game.
Yeah, I can see the receptions over the yards, but I don't know. Like I I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to run the ball at all. They've really only been able to run the ball in favorable matchups for them. So I don't know. I might want to grab a piece of Waddle or Tyreek, but I want to see where they're lined first.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they'll get a little bit of a discount. I think it's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
All right, let's go out to the AFC West here. LA Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are only 1.5-point home dogs. The spread has been coming down all week. Over under is 50.5. Bunch of injury notes here for the Chargers, especially Mike Williams, center Corey Linsley, offensive lineman Trey Pipkins, and defensive back Nasir Adderley, all questionable. And then Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow out. Josh Jacobs questionable with a calf strain that apparently should have ended his game versus the Seahawks, but then he also ran for like an 80-yard touchdown in overtime to win the game. So I don't really understand this injury, but apparently he's hurt. And then cornerback Anthony Averett also on the injury report here. Do you have a play here? Side or total Chargers versus Raiders?
Yeah, so this was a look ahead line going wrong. So I took the Chargers at -3. I was really banking on the Seahawks taking care of the Raiders last week and the Chargers taking care of the Cardinals, and they were able to squeak out a win. But yeah, just my God. And I know we both grabbed the over 48.5 at the open. I think it's up to 50.5 now, but just two impossible teams to bet on. I've already come on here and said how much I've given up on Raiders games, but I just keep losing money betting on this team, betting against this team. So if I wasn't tied into this Chargers bet, I probably wouldn't even be looking at this game. You just got to know when to hang it up. And like, I can't figure out the Raiders, and I just can't do it. So honestly, I plead the fifth here.
Yeah, I think I'm with you here. If you forced me to bet it, I think I would honestly take the Raiders. This team is just so stupid that as soon as you think that they're dead and they can't make the playoffs, they're gonna rip off like 5 wins in a row. I don't know. I bet the over here, like you said. I think that's still a decent play. Both these defenses absolutely suck. The Chargers cannot stop the run. Josh Jacobs might run for another 250 yards, and the Chargers should be able to do whatever they want through the air. The Raiders can't stop anything. I think the last 5 matchups between these two teams have averaged like 53.5 points per game. So I like the over. No need to play the side here.
I hate the Chargers. They might be my most hated team in the league because they should be good. Herbert's overrated. Brandon Staley's just this dude's an absolute bum. The defense is just, they have all the personnel there and they still can't stop anyone. It just I don't know. It just, move them back to San Diego. Do something with them. I don't know. They just stink.
Yeah,
they're overrated. They don't stink. They're just overrated. Like if I
they were priced like the same as the Chiefs.
That's what I'm saying. Next offseason, if I have to hear any Chargers Super Bowl crap in the offseason, I'm gonna lose it.
I wish I bet more on their under. I heard so much Chargers love. I got a little bit scared off that I didn't want to. I thought they'd be good in the regular season and fold in the playoffs. They might even make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I know. Well, they didn't make it last year. They lost to the Raiders in the last game of the season.
True that. Prop looks for you in this one?
Nothing right now.
I mean, the injury worries me a little bit, but Josh Jacobs' rush yards might look enticing if he is a full go. Chargers.
Yeah, the calf's a little scary one.
I know that's the problem.
I feel like I should have been on them last week. It's just like, I don't know. Maybe I didn't grasp how bad the Seahawks defense was.
I didn't think they were that bad.
Yeah, but they just allowed like that massive rushing game to the freaking Bucs. I don't know. I think we should have seen it coming. But he popped up late in the week on the injury report, which was definitely scary. So, I don't know. The calf thing's it scares me off a little bit.
All right, moving right along here to a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, a game where Rue and I lost boatloads of money when the Chiefs blew a 21-point lead. Chiefs are 2.5-point road favorites now. 2-point road favorites. This spread has been coming down all week. A lot of Bengals love in the market. They are 2-point home dogs. The over-under is 52.5. Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire all out for the Chiefs. And Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon expected to be back for the Bengals. I know there's some reports on Jamar Chase today that he's kind of going to see how it feels in practice. Could have played last week, but didn't feel 100%. So we're expecting him back, but we'll see. Very exciting game here. Do you have a play on the side or total?
No, I'm struggling with this one because it opened at 3, and I was like, man, maybe if I can get a 3.5 with the Bengals, I'd absolutely love it. But now we're going the other way, and I'm like, if this gets to like 1.5, do I have to just kind of take the Chiefs here? I don't know. I'm struggling to
There's
see
a
where
1.5 on DraftKings right now.
oh man, is it -110?
-110.
Oh my god, like I don't know, like I struggle, like obviously I trust the Chiefs offense. It's just like the defense I'm struggling with. Like I think the Bengals could have a massive game on the offensive side here, especially with Jamar Chase coming back. But oh my god, it almost a pick 'em. You just feel like you have to roll the dice with Mahomes here to get it done, especially in the revenge spot from the playoffs.
I feel like you do, but there's something about this Chiefs team where I feel like I'm still not fully sold that they're really that good. Like I think that they've just kind of played like I know they're just like they're taking care of business, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of these games they're just like they barely beat the Titans. I guess they beat the Niners, the Jags, the Chargers, the Rams were fine. I don't know. Something about me is just like this Chiefs team is good, but I feel like they might be getting a little bit overvalued, and
yeah, but what have the Bengals
they're
done?
not like a juggernaut.
Like they beat the Titans, fine. I mean, pretty good win, but outside of that, they don't like we kind of I think last week or 2 weeks ago we rattled off some of the wins they had. It's not. I mean, the Jets, the
Look,
Dolphins.
no one's good. We already said no one's
Yeah,
good in the NFL. This is the problem. No one's good.
yeah. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna. It wouldn't be my most confident bet, but once like this 1.5, man, I feel like I just got to roll the dice with Mahomes.
I don't like betting overs on totals this high. Do we just have to bet the over?
What's it at?
52.5. Both team totals are 26.5 as well.
Okay, that's enticing.
But like, I feel like I want to bet both of them over.
Why
and
is
if
it
that's
like,
gonna happen, why
well,
don't
that's
you
what I'm
just bet
saying.
the
Like
over?
the 26.5 team totals are like, they both
I
sound good.
know.
But then
That's what I'm saying.
the game over, I'm like 52 and
Yeah,
a half.
seems kind of high. I don't know.
Um,
A lot of thoughts
yeah.
on this one, but I don't know
I
what to
don't
do.
know. Yeah. Very not convincing arguments for this one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a good spread. Like I have the same thoughts as you. I feel like I'm probably gonna end up on the Chiefs just because the
Yeah.
number is too low, but it's not gonna feel good.
What's the money line on DraftKings with that 1.5?
-130 is the best money
All right,
line you
I'd
can
probably just
find.
take the -1.5, but
PointsBet has it too, so you can get -107 on the 1.5.
okay. Oh boy. All right. All right.
All right, we'll see if we both end up on the
Does it
Chiefs or
worry
not.
you at all with 3, the key number, and even I feel like you have these teams going for 2, you have missed extra points, like I'm so weird, like even laying like these 1.5 and 2 point spreads, I start to worry sometimes.
Oh, I agree. I normally
Sometimes I
take
end
the
up
money
paying for
line
a
in these.
money line. Yeah,
I
it's
feel like this
yeah.
one's a lot though. Like 23 cents is a big
Yeah, I
difference.
know.
If it was like -120, I would just take the money line. But -130,
I
steep.
agree. Yeah. All right. I
It's,
mean,
it's
maybe
tough
more
though.
money keeps coming in on the Bengals and it goes down to a flat 1. Who knows?
Maybe honestly, maybe just wait for like if the Jamar Chase announcement comes out that he is in. Maybe some
Yeah.
people are waiting on that, and that'll just drive a little bit enough to get you to like a -110 money line.
Yeah.
All right, prop looks for you in this one. Probably going to be an exciting game, high scoring game. Maybe Joe Burrow pass yards, but it's tough with both
Maybe.
these teams because it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you could see the offenses having success in a lot of ways. Maybe it's just Travis Kelce. I feel
I
like
was
we
just
do
going to
this with
say
the
Travis Kelce. We
do this with
overthink
the
it
Chiefs
all the
offense.
time.
Yes, Travis Kelce receiving yards is the play. Yes.
Yeah, we're always like, yeah, maybe it's MVS, maybe it's Kadarius
Maybe
Toney,
it's just Kelce every week of the year.
Yeah, I think I don't think I've ever bet a Kelce over either. I'm always trying to figure out the receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's tough. We make it tough. It's not that tough.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Indianapolis Colts against the Dallas Cowboys. How did the Colts get on primetime 2 weeks in a row? What is this crap? Well, we have 3 of the most amazing games of the season. They put Colts Cowboys in primetime. Cowboys are laying 11 points at home here. Over under is 43.5. Kenny Moore and Kwity Paye questionable on the Colts defense. Anthony Barr questionable on the Cowboys defense. I bet the Cowboys at -10. Probably wouldn't touch it at 11. I just think this is a brutal spot for the Colts, traveling to Dallas on a short week. Demoralizing loss to the Eagles. Got beat pretty thoroughly by the Steelers. They came back a little bit in the second half, but really came out flat and uninspiring. And Matt Ryan against this Dallas Cowboys pass rush just seems like an absolute disaster waiting to happen. I think the Cowboys offense is going to be able to put up points. They've had a ton of success recently. They're going to put pressure on the Colts to not be able to run the ball all game. And Matt Ryan against Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and these dogs up front is going to be an absolute nightmare. So I think this is going to be This could be like the kind of the real nail in the Jeff Saturday was a dumb hire coffin, if that makes sense. With the Cowboys just win like 31-0 or something like that.
Yeah, I was actually leaning the Colts, but
Really?
but then I'm like, I mean, like the spread seems right. The Giants were 9.5 point dogs in Dallas. So, I mean, maybe you could argue
Giants are
it's
better than the Colts.
well, that's what I'm saying. So that the Colts are 10.5, but even
Yeah,
like
okay.
even if I'm saying it's 11.5, I don't know. I don't. The number just seems right to me. I agree. It's just a terrible matchup. The Colts need to just if they can get Taylor going on the ground in these matchups, they can hang around. If they can slow the game down.
They haven't been able to. Their offensive line just isn't that good this year. They're just not getting
Yeah,
the
I
same pressure
agree.
with the run game.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, Matt Ryan against this defensive line, just a terrible matchup. You saw Jeff Saturday make the big coaching blunder last week. So, yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, saying this could be the nail in the coffin for the Colts here. But this one's going to be a pass for me. I just think the number's right on.
Yeah, that's fair. Prop looks for you in this one. Probably nothing for me here.
Yeah, probably nothing.
Any Paris Campbell receptions? We done with that?
Yeah, I got burned by that last week too. My God, it was.
Did he come close to hitting?
No, he had like 3 targets. He was wide open in the end zone on one play. Matt Ryan threw it out of the back of the end zone instead of throwing it to
Did
him.
Matt Ryan throw it to the tight ends like 90%
yeah, it was,
of the time?
Yeah,
Jelani Woods.
Jelani Woods, that's who was guy. I swear to God, he had 18 targets. Like it was unbelievable. I've never seen
It's a weird game. All right, Monday Night Football. Kick it over to the NFC South. The New Orleans Saints taking on their favorite opponent, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saints have given Brady fits since he joined Tampa. Bucks are down to a 3.5-point home favorite here. This opened 5.5 and has been all Saints money. The over-under is 40.5. A big injury report for both teams here. Cornerbacks Bradley Roby, PJ Williams, and Marshawn Lattimore all questionable for the Saints, along with linebacker Pete Warner and safety JT Gray. For the Bucks, Tristan Wirfs, stud right tackle out, Antoine Winfield, Sean Murphy Bunting, Russell Gage, and Leonard Fournette all questionable. Absolute disaster on both sides here. Do you have a play on this one, side or total?
Oh man, no, I got nothing here. I wanted to bet the Saints. I got scared of betting the Saints because I hate Andy Dalton, and I still think this Bucs defense, like this. Okay, Alvin Kamara fumbled on the goal line, but they got shut out last week. You're going against a pretty solid Bucs defense. Like it feels like this is a game where the Bucs don't need to be sharp offensively and can still cover the spread. Like they could realistically get 17, 20 points here. I think cover the spread with how bad this Saints offense is. But I don't know. I just like the Bucs. I said earlier, just flat out of sync. 4.9 yards per play last week against a Browns defense that's bottom 10 in the league, and the defense. Yep. The defense was decent last week. They only allowed 4.9 yards per play. They just kind of collapsed at the end there, like we said. But I don't know. Like I'm debating if this hits 3. I don't think it will. If I would take the Bucs, but it's really hard to make a case for either of these teams in this spot.
If it hits 3, I have to bet the Bucs again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can we really go back to the well?
It's so bad. It's so bad, but I feel like at 3 you have to. I'm already heavily invested in the Bucs via preseason division futures, so I feel like
they're going to win the division. I feel like
if they lose this game, they're not going to win the division. I mean, they'll be basically tied with every other team in the division. I mean, they'll have the same number of wins as the Saints if they lose this game.
The Bucs already beat them once, so I guess whatever.
So they'd be division. Tied in wins, and they'd split the head-to-head. I mean,
they both be 2-2 in the division too. So
if they lose this game, they're in real trouble. I kind of liked your breakdown there because my favorite bet on this game is the under 40.5. I mean, I think we both just talked about it. Both these offenses are absolutely broken. Andy Dalton should not be starting for the Saints anymore. The Bucs offense can't get anything going. I think something like you said, the Bucs get to 17 or 20 points. The Saints get to 10 or 13. Sounds about right. Both these teams are 4-1 to the under in their last 5 games. 13-0 game last week for the Saints. 23-17 overtime game for the Bucs. I really thought this one was going to be in the 30s. And the first time these two teams met, it was a 20-10 Tampa win. Easily went under. Give me the under 40.5.
Yeah, I just bet it as we were talking. I like that.
Yeah. Excellent. No prop looks for me in this game. Maybe
Chris Godwin.
Olave.
Chris Godwin.
Olave.
Godwin.
And Godwin. A pair of
Okay.
Chris's in the receiving prop game. Maybe we
Yeah.
look at both of them. Yeah. Godwin's the only receiver on this offense that apparently cares about football, and Olave is really good.
He's had double-digit targets in 6 of the last 7 games. Or no, sorry, 5 of the last 6 games. Not Olave, Godwin. Sorry.
Godwin, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
probably the only steady piece of the Bucs team.
All right, that'll wrap up our game by game breakdown for week number 13. Now we will go to our long shots of the week. I will give you the honors.
Yeah, I'm diving headfirst into the revenge spot here. So I'm going with A.J. Brown, 100 receiving yards and a touchdown against the Titans.
Love that.
Don't have the odds on that yet.
Should be pretty good. Plus 350, plus 400.
Yeah, maybe.
I like it. I like that. I'm going to bet that with you. My long shot, you're not going to like it, but I had to do it. I'm going to go Josh Allen over rush yards. I got 41.5 on FanDuel. The Bills team total over 23.5 points. One of my absolute favorite bets of the week. And then the Bills money line to round it all off. This was plus 220 on FanDuel earlier today. I think Josh Allen's going to have a big game. Love the Bills to win this game. And I don't think a team total under 24 has ever happened for the Josh Allen Bills in a game that wasn't played in a freaking tornado, hurricane, whatever kind of weather you want to bring up. This is insane to me. So that's my long shot of the week.
Okay.
Favorite bet of the week. We both need a bounce back here. Start us off strong. What do you got?
I am going to go with a teaser this week. I am going to tease the Baltimore Ravens down to -2, and I'm going to tease the New York Football Giants up to 8.5. Like I said, I don't see the Ravens winning this game. I'm not worried about them blowing it. And the Giants should be able to keep this one close. I don't see the Commanders winning by any sort of wide margin here if they win the game.
Yeah, I was worried you were going to steal my favorite bet of the week again.
Damn it.
Also have a 6-point teaser with the Baltimore Ravens. I chose to pair them with the Detroit Lions. It looks like some books have actually moved the Lions back to a favorite, so I'm fine if you want to swap them out with the Seattle Seahawks, the Giants. If you want to take Ruse, that's fine too. Like we talked about, no chance the Ravens are going to lose 2 in a row here. They're the much better team. Broncos have lost 7 of the last what?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Was it important?
No. I can. It's not important. I can bring it up when you're done.
Okay. Broncos have lost 7 of the last 8 games. I think there's a realistic chance the Ravens win going away. And the Lions and Jags. I took the Lions in my teaser here. Just think there's absolutely zero chance that either of these teams win by margin. The last time the Jaguars won a game by 8 points or more was week 3 against the Chargers, where Justin Herbert played with broken ribs. And pretty much every Lions game has been a 1-score game as well.
Okay.
You were saying?
Would you ever tease the Jaguars if it got to 1.5?
Yeah, I would tease either of those teams. I mean, I don't see how either. I mean, I like teasing the Lions more just because I kind of like them on the spread already. I think they're going to win the game, but I certainly don't think they're going to win by 10 points or anything.
Okay. Because it could certainly get back to 1.5 for the Jaguars as underdogs.
Yeah, I would tease either of them at 1.5.
Okay.
All right. Any closing remarks? I don't see look ahead lines on FanDuel for some reason.
They were there yesterday. Oh, no, they're there.
What?
I actually looked through them a few times. There was nothing I felt like I had to jump on right away.
I don't have them.
Oh, I have them.
Well, what am I not allowed to bet the look ahead?
Go to the top of the top bar, go to the NFL, and then scroll over. It says week 14.
Oh, normally it's listed under games.
I mean,
what about the Raiders minus 5.5?
Not even a little bit. Maybe the Dolphins against the Chargers.
Okay.
I assume the Dolphins would stay on the West Coast there, which is usually a pretty good spot.
Hold on, not there yet. Jets plus 9.5 at the Bills.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's some value on these lines, just with the way they're lined up with the Jets here. Is the value this week fading them, or is it taking them against the Bills next week? I don't know.
I mean, bet this now,
when it's sitting at 9.5, I feel like with 10, there's not a big drop off going from 9.5 to 8.5. So I'd rather hold out and see if you get it.
Yeah, you'd have to have it go down to 7 to where you really feel like you got a ton of value.
Exactly.
I don't feel like you need to bet it now, but Steelers plus 4.5 at home versus the Ravens. That's probably a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. So, oh my God, Dolphins at the chart. That's definitely a good bet.
That's what I said. Yeah.
The only problem is if the Niners just like beat the crap out of them this week, like not just in the scoreboard, but like physically beat the crap out of them and like hurt half their team. But I mean, the Chargers should not be getting that much respect.
The Chiefs at 7.5, obviously not one you have to take now with, but if that got to a flat 7 at some point this week against the Broncos, I would take the Chiefs.
I feel like you just bet that 7. How are the Broncos? Like, this is what we talked about. You can't hold Patrick Mahomes under 24 points. How are the Broncos going to score 17 to cover the spread?
So it's juiced to the Broncos right now. So I'm curious if another book will end up having a 7 on the look ahead. So I'm going to wait for that and look around. This is just
DraftKings has a flat 7, so Caesars might as well.
Woo!
Chiefs -7 at the Broncos is an absolute hammer spot.
All right, I'm in.
Okay,
especially if they beat the Bengals.
Let me try and sell you on one more. You're probably not going to like it, but Carolina Panthers +7 at the Seahawks. Panthers on a bye this week, so no injury risk. All the risk is on Seattle. Sam Darnold, I know you don't want to hear it. He looked pretty good against the Broncos defense. DJ Moore came to life. The Seahawks defense stinks. Maybe this isn't a great look ahead because we think the Seahawks are going to dominate the Rams, so it's probably not going to move. But if the Panthers are +7, I feel like that's a good bet.
Yeah, I would be in 100% next week if it's at 7.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Chiefs at 7 for sure. Other ones we're going to monitor and probably bet next week if they stay in the same range.
Yep.
All right. Anything left to say?
Nope.
Thank you, everyone out there, for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BetRightPod. We will post the incredibly profitable and well thought out prop sheet later this week, which is surely going to have a bounce back week. Smash the like button on YouTube. The link to the YouTube video will be in the description of this podcast. From Jeff and Rue, we are the Bet Right Sports Betting Podcast, because every time you bet with us, you bet right.